So let's go ahead and get started. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So welcome everyone. Happy New Year. I hope you guys are starting off the new year doing well and staying safe. Welcome to the Society of Thoracic Surgeons Congenital Heart Surgery Database User Group call. Today is Tuesday, January the 11th of 2022. So let's go ahead and jump in. On the call with me today from STS, we have myself, Carol, we have Chastity, we have from our core group side, we have Dr. Meyer, we have Janet and Leslie, and then from our IQVIA team, we have Melanie, Joe, and Jean. So I think that's it from IQVIA side. Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining. So we'll start with our STS update, then I'll turn things over to IQVIA, and as usual, we'll finish things off with our user feedback. If you have any questions, please be sure to put those into the Q&A. I believe, again, please be sure to submit those via the Q&A. The raise hand function is enabled if you need to ask your question or clarify anything. Just make sure that your microphone is enabled, and I can unmute you from this end. All right, so let's jump into things. The January training manual is going to be posted this week. It's in the hands of marketing. So once marketing does get that posted, it should be within the next day or two. I know they are a little slammed right now. So again, the January training manual will be posted this week. So keep checking back for that. 2021 harvest date update, just a reminder that the 2021 harvest did close on Thursday, December the 23rd, and that data is being sent to DCRI for analysis. Also, just wanted to remind everyone of the COVID update. An official STS communication was sent to all database participants on December the 28th. So if you did not receive that email confirmation, just if you would just go back and check. But again, an official communication was sent from STS on December the 28th. And again, just a reminder that any COVID positive patient will continue to be excluded from the current analysis from 2021 and spring 2022. Please note that the exclusion of these patients only impacts about 0.19% of all the patients in the congenital database. So again, it's a small number, very small population of records or patients that are being excluded. In that official communication, we also announced that analysis exclusions will cease for any record with a surgery date of January 1, 2022 forward. So anyone with an OR date, any COVID positive case with an OR date of January 1, 2022, those patients will now be included in the analysis. And of course, please do continue to collect those COVID variables until further notice. If you have any questions regarding that, please just reach out and we can get those answers for you. Just a reminder that the 2022 harvest schedule is posted out on the STS website. The spring 2022 harvest is underway and is scheduled to close on March the 11th. Opt-outs are due by March 15th, and the 2022 spring harvest includes procedures performed through December 31st of 2021. And the fall 2022 harvest is currently scheduled to close on September 16th with opt-out on September 30th. And of course, this analysis for the fall will include procedures up through June 30th of 2022. Also wanted to provide a brief 6.22 data version upgrade. We are almost just about done with the data spec build. So the data spec build is in its final stages. We have one more call this week where we're wrapping things up. So the specs will be going to the vendors very soon, by the end of this month or before, just depends, but we definitely plan on getting those specs to the vendors by the end of this month. Also, we will be having, as we talked about earlier, upgrade webinars will begin in February. These webinars will be bi-weekly. We'll be doing a DCF walkthrough going through variable by variable, and of course, you all will have the opportunity to ask any questions during these upgrade webinars. And more information on the dates for these webinars will be coming soon, but again, they will begin next month, and I'll have the dates down and solidified for you on our next call in the monthly webinar. So that'll be coming next week. So those dates will be finalized and put on the calendar and coming to you next week. The 2021 and 2022 analysis updates. Again, just wanted to touch on this. I know prior to the holidays, you all for another official communication to be sent to the CHSD community outlining analysis updates that were coming for the 2021 report as well as 2022. So again, and I am working with the task force and STS leadership to get that official communication ready to be sent. And of course, this communication will outline the implementation of those 341 more granular codes, as we've discussed in previous webinars, that will be implemented in this 2021 analysis, and with the spring 2022, the updated stat scores that will be implemented. So again, working on that official communication that you all had asked for to come out from STS to the CHSD community. That's all I have from my perspective. So next I'm going to turn things over to Melanie for our IQVIA update. Mel?
Thanks, Leanne. Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. So quick updates related to some report enhancements that are coming. And then also we will be updating the full list of items for your review for known issues and also enhancements. We will be posting that tomorrow. So we're going to have that finalized list available for you all to review. But just wanted to highlight a couple of items that we have gotten some questions around. So just wanted to share these updates related to the CHSD primary procedure report. We do have item 7662, where the report will be updated to update the priority of transplants when done in conjunction with Rule 1 exception codes. Currently, if the transplant is done in conjunction with any Rule 1 exception, the Rule 1 is actually taking the priority. So we did get that clarified by the Surgeon Task Force, the core group. So that rule will be updated in the report. The next item is 7666. The report will be updated to include a new rule that has been proposed to address PBR procedures. So I will provide further clarity in the list that will be posted to the library. So this is a new rule that was provided to IQVIA to be included into the report related to the PBR procedures. The next item is 7667. The report will be updated to, of course, include the new stat scores that will be introduced. So we're currently working with STS on getting the finalized list of the stat scores. And then, of course, that will be implemented in the report. And then the last item for primary procedure is 7678. The report is currently taking the I believe it's the VSD repair as the primary when the report is identifying a tie with the PFO primary closure when done in conjunction with the valvoplasty tricuspid. So we do need to.
Hi, Joshua David. It's Carolyn.
Oh, Carol.
Carol, you're not on. Carol, you're not on mute. One moment. All right, there we go. All right, we're back. So we're updating the related codes. Those two codes have a tie, but in this instance, the primary should be selected as I believe, the VSD repair. So we are going to make sure that we have that updated. All right, the next slide.
So sorry, Melody, can I just sort of clarify something or make sure that you understand? You know, there are in the lists of the procedures,
there's a specific order that should be respected.
Right.
Correct.
That's really the key.
So that is the key. And yes, I should have added a note in there also to make that point out that will be respected, that there is a specific order exactly according to that table, that the order should be respected. We had this specific example, but yes, right. Dr. Meyer, absolutely. That's what we will be updating.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks for pointing that out. All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, and an item related to the risk adjusted report, we just wanted to highlight this. We do have a couple others that we will also be adding to the list for just for your awareness, but this one in particular has come up a couple of times, and I know that once we start seeing same questions come in, we want to make sure that everyone is on the same page. So for item 7589, we will be updating table 21 to remove the results related to the VSD plus aortic arch hypoplasia and also the VSD plus corrucation of the aorta. So those right now are being reported out, and it was identified that those should not be included within that table. So we will be updating that report to remove those items. So just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of this change that will be coming to the report. Okay, and as I had stated before, we will be providing a full list of the known issues and enhancements. We will be posting that to the library as of tomorrow, January the 12th, so that everyone has reference to items that have been reported and, of course, items that we will be enhancing throughout the different reports. Okay, and I think we have one last slide, and then what we'll do is we're going to do a walkthrough of the CHSD spreadsheet for the calculations. We're going to do a quick review of that. And then just one last reminder that submitted tickets are currently under review. And of course, once we receive further information and clarification on those tickets, if we have any items that are targeted for releases, we will, of course, make sure that we respond back to you all to, of course, make you aware of when those items are coming. We are currently reviewing items that will be going into the next release, which we're hoping to target within the next couple of weeks. Again, once we have that final release timing, we will be sharing that with the group. Items that have been updated with releases, we do post to the notifications. And again, in the latest round of issues and enhancements, we will share if items that were previously being reviewed and resolved. We'll also make sure that you know that items have been resolved so that you can also have that as a cross check. Okay, and just a single one-stop shop type of thing. Okay, so I think that's it for the slide. So I would want to go ahead and share my screen.
If I need to stop share, Mel.
Yeah.
There you go. I stopped share.
All
You should
right.
be good to go.
And let me just grab the share if I can. One moment. And just let me know if you can see. I'm just going to start off with the dashboard report because I just want to make sure that that people are aware of certain functionalities that's, of course, available within a report. And I think I saw also a question from Heidi related to printing. So while I'm here, we can probably look at that too, try to get things clarified. All right, so I ran the report, and this one is actually for the STS. It's a test site. So let me just rerun this. It's the 99999. So it's not a true participant site. It's a test site. So let me just rerun this. So you won't have actual values that when we go into different sections of the report, this report won't have values populated within the participant side. We will see the information on the STS columns. So let's bring that up. And then what I want to do is make sure that you all are aware of the resources that are available in the library that will basically be a companion with this report. Okay, so let me also open up another tab for that. So just another quick tip, if you wanted to have multiple areas of the application open, you can always go to that icon and you can right click and you'll see where it gives you an option to open a new tab. So it's going to open up the library in another tab for me. So I can have that open in addition to having my report open. Okay, so hopefully that's another quick tip that will allow you to navigate between the two. So now I have the library open in a separate tab. Okay, and I want to just point out that you have the analysis overview that goes with the report. So if you're trying to, of course, confirm what are the variables that are being looked at in analysis, what are the percentages that are being looked at to be included, excluded. All of that information is in this analysis overview document. So similar to what you've already received in the past in the PDF, it's usually just the front portion of the report before getting to your results. That is available. The other item that I wanted to point out is the report calculation spreadsheet. So I'm going to do a high-level review. We'll take another session in a future webinar, and we'll do a deeper dive. But just to make sure that you're aware that you have a resource that will allow you to see how the report is generating certain results. And so I hope to clarify and to provide to you insight to know which sections of the report is being generated by IQVIA and which sections of the report is generated by DCRI provided data. Okay, so hopefully that will help. But this spreadsheet also gives a little bit of, well, not a little bit, a lot of insight when it comes to how this report is being generated. All right, so going back to the report, the first thing that I also want to point out is that you have an option to export the report using this button here. And so once you export that report, it will download as a PDF version of the report for you. So I downloaded it. So let me just go ahead and open that up so you can see. And then of course you can go in and zoom in, but you'll see that you'll have your results. And again, like I said, since I'm in my test 999, I'm not going to have results for the participant, but you will see results related to the STS. So here I'm able to see all of that information. And I believe there was a question related to, let's see where that is, table 21, I think Heidi may have asked about. But here is where you would see, of course, all of those results, and you're able to print that out to PDF. And then if you wanted to print this to a hard copy, you have the option to print. Okay, so I'll just click that for you. And if there are certain things that, certain sections or tables that you wanted to have a hard copy of, you can use the parameters that are listed here to define which pages you would want to print. So you don't have to print all pages. You are able to go in and you're able to put in a custom option. Okay, so let's just select that and put in those specific pages that have the tables that you would like to print out. Okay, you can use that option. And then of course it will, if there's other settings available, but by default, I use this, and you can see it's defaulting to my printer that I have here in my office. Okay. So let's cancel out of here. You're able to see, of course, the results for printing. I'm just going to go to, I think, Heidi, you may have read reference to table 21. Hold on. Let's just go. Let's see that I fly past table 21. And you stated that it cut off. So I'm hoping that if anything, if you're still having an issue, please make sure you're using the workflow of using the export button option, because I am seeing that it looks like it's not cutting unless I'm missing something. But I'm seeing where it then goes to table 22. So it looks like the full information is here. But again, put information in the chat if you're seeing something different. And of course, we can get you with one of our support team members. Okay. So the other thing that I wanted to show everyone is that you are able to see how the actual reports are generated. So let's just take, for example, the number submitted and in analysis table 1. So if we were to go there, and again, not going to see anything on the participant side, but what I want to show you is that you are able to download that spreadsheet that I made reference to, which is the calculation spreadsheet, okay, in the library. And you'll see at the very bottom, there are tabs, and each tab is listed with a table number and a description. Okay, I'll come back to the other two tabs in a moment, but every table has a respective tab at the bottom. And so you're able to use this as a point of reference. And then as you're looking at your report, you're able to see how this report is calculated. And you'll see, for example, if you were to question, well, how do they calculate the number of operations patients, the operations that are submitted? You'll see that it shows all operations. So this is not an item that comes from DCRI, okay? And I'm going to point out where you're able to see where we rely on DCRI data versus IQVIA is calculating that portion or that line item in the report. So in this instance, it's just all operations. So we take the information based on that harvest snapshot. We are looking at all operations that were submitted, okay, by the participant. And you'll see that it's STS, participant, or both. And then we define it that we are going to be presenting this information for both, okay? So you can also take a look at that. And so here in this instance, we're taking all operations and we're giving that count. And so the next line, you'll see that this is the operations in analysis. So now this is a little bit different. This is actually relying on, you'll see some variables that have to be set to a certain value. And these variables that you see where it says I op type equal to 1, and then I op type equal to 2. So those are the only cases or operations that we're looking at in this calculation, and include, and in this word include, this is an actual variable. So each one of these that you're seeing, the I op type, include, more data, each one of those variables come from DCRI. And how do we know that? There's a tab here that's called variable definitions. Variable definitions will give you all of the variables that are provided from DCRI to IQVIA. So we get all of these variables, and when you reference the calculation, you can then see, is it a variable that comes from DCRI? So all of these variables we receive from DCRI, and we consider it in the calculation. So just going back to that calculation. So IOP type, it basically is saying that it was categorized either as an op type 1 or op type 2, and include, meaning it was included in analysis. That's their way of telling us at IQVIA that this case, or that operation rather, was included in analysis. So they tell us that information, and the include has to be equal to 1, which is equivalent to yes. And then more data, again, another variable that comes from DCRI, has to be equal to 1. And then gender. Gender in this instance does come from the IQVIA clinical data set. So based on what was answered on that operation, the patient was male or female, we are then looking at the gender response. And so that's how we get this calculation for the operations in analysis. Okay, so I want to be able to at least show a little bit more of the different tables that are here so you can see those calculations. Again, we want to be able to take a deeper dive at a later time, but we want to make sure that you are utilizing these tools that are out there for you. And again, if you have certain questions, then of course, reach out to us at IQVIA support and we can provide you with additional guidance. So that's table 1. So let's take a look at, let's go ahead. I had questions related to table 20. I'll just go there for the ASDs. And so for the lesion specific tables, you're going to see at the very top of the spreadsheet criteria that defines that report. And so you'll see at the very top, you'll have primary diagnosis and primary procedures that make up that population for ASDs. And so that's what we're looking at when working in these calculations. You'll see where the calculation will say the count of prim diag is equal to 10. Okay, so in that instance, the PFO, right, for here, you'll see that, and it basically comes back and it says, and prim-proc is going to be equal to one of those primary procedures. Okay, and so that's how we are able to define for this actual line item here for the incidence, right, for PFO. That is how we are defining the count and providing the results for that line item. So you'll see that. And then also, you'll see that again, we give more. If you're not able to see the definitions that are at the top, at the very line item of that calculation, we are also providing you prime diag is equal to 10, and prim-proc has to be one of these primary procedures to then give us the results for that. And then again, like I said, each one of these tables at the very top of each of the sections, and you may have to scroll over to the left, you'll have the definitions that are at the very top. One thing that I want to point out is that you'll see that it says index operations, because of course it's only looking at the index operations. And we receive this information where you see primary op. We receive this information for primary op assignment from DCRI. So that is how we know it's been confirmed that the operation presented within this report is the index operation based on the response that they have provided back to IQVIA. And it has to be equal, that operation has to be equal to 1 for primary op to make it the index. Okay. So let me see what else. So again, each one of these, you'll see, I think these are the questions that usually come in. So I'm just trying to remember which of the primary areas of questions. The definitions, I think, has been the primary questions that we've gotten in the past of how is that defined. So if you're seeing where there's certain operations that are not being counted in a specific line item, then what you can do is go to that actual line item in the report. So let's just, I think this one I had a filter on. What you can do is go to that line item on the spreadsheet and then take a look to then see what are the codes that are being considered, and does that patient meet the criteria to then be counted in that actual line item. Okay. All right, so I think I'm going to stop here, and we may have questions towards the end, but I'll stop here, and let me just, did I stop sharing? Here we go, stop sharing. So Leanne, I'll hand it back to you. And then of course, I'll leave it up if we needed to go back to looking at anything within that sheet or the report.
Perfect. Thanks, Melanie. I appreciate it. That was a great presentation. Thank you very, very much. It looks like we will have some questions, so we'll get to those in just a second. Analysis report questions, you guys are all familiar. Just please reach out to IQVIA support. You can reach out to CHSD tech support at IQVIA.com. And as always, STS and DCRI will be looped in as needed when your tickets are escalated to tier 2 for assistance. If you need to reach me, my contact information is here. Email and direct phone. Email is best. Database operational questions. If you have questions regarding invoices, participation, contacts listed for your site, please reach out to us at stsdb@sts.org. And also, if you have any questions regarding direct data entry, any interest in that, again, please reach out to us at stsdb@sts.org. Upcoming congenital webinars, just mark your calendars. Our next monthly webinar is scheduled for next week, January the 18th at 12 p.m. Central. And our next user group call is scheduled for February 1st at 12 p.m. Central. I will, again, like I stated earlier, I will give more information on the exact dates for the upgrade calls. We'll likely utilize some of these user group calls for the upgrade call. So again, I'll have more concrete information and dates on our monthly webinar next week for the kickoff for our user group, our upgrade calls for the version 6.22 upgrade. So that's all I have from STS and IQVIA perspective. So I do see some questions in the Q&A. So let's go ahead and tackle those questions. All right, let's start with Heidi's. Near end of presentation, can you put slide 5 back up? So let me go here, Heidi. I believe this is what you were looking for. Oh, the slide here. So again, here the slide is here for your review. Hold on, let me get back to my questions. They disappeared from my screen. Okay, our next question is from Dawn. What is the new rule addressing PVR procedure? And again, Diane had a follow-up question regarding the same thing. And also, are there any other new rules being implemented with spring 2022? So let me go ahead and address those. So obviously there are some, we had some requests from our December task force call to implement a couple of, actually 3 new rules in the beginning with the 2021 analysis. So these will be conveyed to you in that official communication regarding the 2021 and 2022 analysis. And I apologize, I should have put that information here, but I did not. So let me pull this over so I can share this with you all. And again, this will be coming to you for the 2021 and the 2022 analysis updates. So regarding the PVR, so here are there are 3 new rule changes that are being implemented or exceptions. So the first one is here: if any multiple component operation that includes one of the below named Glenn or Hemi-Fontan procedures also includes any one of these, then the primary procedure will be determined to be the pertinent one from the second list of procedures and not one of the Glenn or Hemi-Fontan procedures. Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but these will be included in the analysis overview for the 2021 report. So these will be added to the list of rules and exceptions. And I can also include these in this official communication that will be coming from STS. And the second one, if any multiple component operation that includes one of the below named PVR procedures, you have the 2270, the 600, and also includes the 530 PA reconstruction plasty main trunk, then the primary procedure will be one of the PVR procedures and not 530. So that is the rule for the PVR procedures that you were asking about. And then our third and final one is in the event of the following simultaneous procedures, the 610 conduit placement RV to PA combined with any of the following 2 procedures, the 740 Ross procedure and the 760 Ross Coto procedure, then the primary procedure comes from the following list unless the operation includes an additional simultaneous procedure with a higher stat score or a procedure from the list above under exception 1, exclusive of the 3 VSD procedures. So you have the ROP 740, 760, and then in the latter instance, the component procedure with the highest stat score or the procedure from the list above under exception 1 is the primary procedure. So again, I just wanted to share these with you all. And again, they will be included in the analysis overview for the 2021 report that will be coming, and they will be included in that official communication that is coming from the STS. So our next question, will there be a revised report issued once edits are made to it? As we're all working through US News, it will be helpful to know when to download prior to finalizing that. So I know Mel is working on getting a timeline for us as to when those changes will be coming. So as once we have a date, obviously we will share that with you all, and we will post notifications and announce on the webinar once those reports have been revised and are updated. Did you have anything to add to that, Mel?
Sorry, I was on mute. Nope.
Oh.
Nope.
Okay.
You covered it.
All right. Our next question from Ruthie. Will the STS send US News that table 21 is being modified because they are asking questions related to table 21? Ruthie, we won't have any, we don't work directly with US News, so we would not be sending them any information, letting them know. But also the modifications that are being made to table 21, I don't think they affect the questions that are being asked regarding that table. I believe that's correct, right, Chastity?
Correct. I think that the updates being made won't impact because they ask you to specifically add up certain procedures, and then you have to use your local data to get to the asked complication anyway. And so, yes, the updates won't matter for US News.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see, Vera, in previous webinars, I believe that we were informed that the new stat categories will be applied to all surgeries in the next harvest rather than applying the new stat categories to surgeries starting with January 1, 2022 only. Is this still the plan? And so the new stat scores will be applied in the spring 2022 analysis that covers a 4-year reporting period. So the stat scores, the updated new stat scores will be applied to the 4-year reporting period for the spring 2022 report. Let's see, from Tanny, when we print the risk adjusted report, some tables that have a lot of information, 18, 19, 20, 21 are difficult to see. When we try to zoom and print, the numbers become blurry. Same problem when we try to print screen or using snipping tool. But I don't know if IQVIA, I don't know if you all are working on that or a resolution to that or working or have any tips regarding those printing features.
This is Joe. I don't have anything off the top of my head, but
Okay.
as always, you're welcome to email us.
Great, thank you. And also, I think, Joe, Dawn's question, her next question regarding Melanie, and I think we've talked about this before. What about the truncated values and fields in some tables? Is it still not possible for the expanded value to print? And I think you all may have been working with Spotfire or someone. I'm not sure if that's just coming to my head. I know that's been brought to our attention before, and I think you all were working on that. I didn't know if there was an update or if I imagined that. Oh, Melanie said her internet went down, so we lost her.
Yeah, and I don't have any information on that, unfortunately. So we'd have to wait for Melanie.
Okay. But Dawn, if you haven't already done so, if you could shoot that over to IQVIA support. But I know that's been brought, that's a discussion that we've had before. But I don't have an answer to that right now. But if you could just send that to support, and then Melanie could follow up with you. I don't know if that's something that they're currently tracking right now, but again, Melanie can follow up if you get that submitted. Let's see. Next question from Becky. In prior harvest reports, has it always been only index procedures included in the benchmark tables? I thought it included all cases with appropriate diagnoses procedure combos. So that's for the lesion specific, Becky, I think.
No, the benchmark
Oh, the
tables,
benchmark.
not lesion specific, but
Okay.
yes, they've only had index operations because you otherwise couldn't do a mortality analysis unless.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay. I know you always state that the STS is not affiliated with US News. However, as we are all aware, they rely heavily on data from the harvest report from the cardiology section. The latest version of the survey asks us to include the ARCH plus VSD and COART plus VSD procedure counts that are currently included in Table 21. To assure all centers submit consistent data, accurate data will be helpful if the report is accurate. So correct me if I'm wrong, Chastity, but it asks for types 1, 2, 3, and 4, correct?
Well, let me confirm because during this call, I received a new survey. And so I'm making sure. I think it's hard because we have administrators that hand out the surveys to us. It's not something we can go get on our own.
Okay. Yeah, and just so you know, also STS does not see these surveys.
I
Okay,
can
go ahead,
provide a
Dr.
little information.
Okay, thank you.
So in the table where we get complications related to VSDs, in previous years, that table broke those complications down by specific types of VSDs. Now it only provides complications for the union of all VSDs. So therefore, to use the complication data, which is for all VSDs, the denominator has to also be all VSDs in that lesion specific table. So US News is going to update that table in the version that probably was just released or will be shortly released, that the question is going to ask for all VSDs in the lesion specific table, because then the complication data can also come from the lesion specific table. I hope that made sense. It's kind of hard to say all that, Chastity. Does that make sense what I tried to say?
Well, so you're saying that we will be able to use the table to get the complication data for the US News
Correct.
question? Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The question was changed so that that table can be used to obtain the complication data. So
Once the
in
table's updated to exclude the co-work VSDs and the arch VSDs, correct?
Then
No,
it
no,
will
no.
be okay.
No. The current table includes co-arc VSDs and arch VSDs. So US News is updating their question to also include that.
But that table is actually going to be changed here soon to not include those.
For the next report, right?
For 2022, yeah.
Right.
Oh,
So-
I'm sorry. I thought that was going into effect here soon for Mel.
I think. Okay, Mel's still, her internet is still down, so we don't have her on the call. So
I
let me
do
just,
see the new survey dated earlier this week does now ask for all the denominator of all VSD types, as Dr. Jacobs said. And then,
And that was done so that the report as it currently stands can be used to answer the question.
okay. I thought Mel said the fix for that table to remove the arches and coarcs from that table was going to happen here soon and not later. So I
Yeah,
guess
that
we
was
need
my understanding as well, Chastity.
okay.
yeah. Ruthie has her hand raised, but for some reason I can't unmute anyone now on the attendee side, Carol. I don't know. I did a Zoom update and I don't know if some of my permissions got wonky, but I can't unmute. Wait a minute. Oh, please. Where's Ruthie? Hold on. I see you, Ruthie. I know you wanted to, hold on, let me find you.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, there you are. Thank you.
Hi, yes. So because I've been working on US News and World Report, and I saw this question, I still don't think that just because they added core and arch hypoplasia to the question actually fixes it. I think the better fix is what IQVIA is doing, getting rid of the arches and VSDs from the table, and just US News and World Report needs to update their question and remove those from the question, because our arch VSDs are a higher complexity, higher stat score, and they shouldn't be meshed in with just VSD repairs that are stat ones.
Right.
Right.
I think that makes good sense. The question was a matter of timing. The US News and World Report survey went out this week and they changed the question to match what was currently in the STS report. So if the STS report is going to be changed, then US News and World Report would also need to change the question again. But the reason they changed it the first time was so it would exactly match the table. So it's a question of timing. In other words, if we change that report at the level of IQVIA, will it be available to the sites in time to answer the question?
Well, we can send a clarification, ask for, the US News and World Report, and not only the STS, but as centers, we could send letters to and say, you know what, they should really be removed, and we're getting a new report, an updated report. Because really,
Yeah,
it should not be meshed.
It's all a question of timing. US News is just trying to match their questions to exactly what's in the STS report.
Right. Yeah, and I know Mel, had said she's working on it. I don't have a time of when that will be implemented on the IQVIA side, taking out those two procedures. So
I think once we know when we're going to do that, we could let US News know that that the table's modified, and we can ask them to modify the question. But we obviously can't do that until we know if that table is going to get modified prior to this US News questionnaire or after this US News questionnaire.
right, and we'll know more from Melanie.
Yeah, I mean, right now the question matches exactly what's in the current version of that table. So if that table can be used to answer the question. If we change the question, or I'm sorry, if we change the table at the level of IQVIA, US News is going to update their question to match that table. Their goal is just to be able to take data right out of STS reports and not have to have database managers capture the data themselves as much as possible.
And I guess my other question, hi, sorry guys, is also because on that table 21, we also have the Gerbode type and we have the multiple VSDs. And those are also meshed in with the outcomes analysis of operative mortality. Not so much as your body, but the multiple VSDs as a stat 2 and not a stat 1. So it's not exactly the same either.
Well, I think what we're doing is trying to categorize a continuous spectrum of complexity. So each VSD is a little bit different from each other one, and each has a little bit different risk from for any of the complications, including heart block. I think clearly one can make a good argument that taking out the ones that are associated with arch repair makes good sense, and with co-arch makes good sense. The other ones, I don't know. Eventually, if you wanted to, you could just ask for the complications associated with a perimembranous VSD to make it a really pure cohort. Ultimately, what I can tell you is I know from the U.S. News side, they're just trying to match the questions to what we put in our tables. So when we decide to put something in a table, U.S. News will ask a question about that table.
Okay.
We have this underlying problem, though, that, the tail shouldn't be wagging the dog here. And as far as I'm concerned, Newsweek or U.S. News is the tail.
Exactly.
And
Agree.
And I do think that, but I think it's worth taking 1 minute here and just pointing out, as I think everybody recognizes, but I think, needs to be stated openly, is that they're trying to do univariate analysis to make it simple, which of course introduces a whole series of other problems that everybody's just mentioning. Multiple VSDs. Is an inlet VSD really the same as a perimembranous VSD, as a subarterial VSD, as a apical muscular VSD? The answer, of course, is no. I mean, so I know that, everybody's sensitive to, and all the administrators and everybody else is always worried about what's going to look like with, in their U.S. News report. But I personally think that this is just oversimplifying, creating disinformation, and I really think it's of extremely limited value. So that's one man's opinion, but I think everybody who thinks about this for a minute is probably going to be in the same ballpark as me.
Understood and agree, Dr. Meyer. Thank you very much, Dr. Meyer, Dr. Jacobs. I appreciate your input and you guys being on these calls.
I would say I agree with everything John Meyer just said. He's absolutely correct about all that. I think what is clear is that U.S. News is going to write questions. We can't stop them from doing that. And they're going to try to match those questions to whatever we put in our feedback report whenever possible. John's right about every single thing that he said, but I would guess it's probably better that their source of information is the STS than using some other administrative source of data. So our job is not to deal with U.S. News. Our job is just to write the best feedback report we can.
Agreed. Exactly.
I don't know. I guess that's a whole nother philosophical question about whether or not, we should be encouraging them or making it easier for them to use the STS data. I'm increasingly skeptical that they don't always listen, frequently don't listen to us when we point out problems. And, I worry about this, and I worry about how it's, distorting things, right? The only thing that's worse than, no information is bad information. And, when you take what is honestly collected and submitted and everything else, good information, and then you start misinterpreting it or misanalyzing it, then I'm not sure that we're not creating more trouble here than we would like. Now, I mean, it's a free country. They get to do whatever they want, but at some level, from a philosophical standpoint, I'm not sure that I think we ought to just be doing things to, make their job easier.
So Heidi had asked if there is an STS US News World Report liaison that represents us as a community. I know personally from STS staff wise, we do not have a working relationship with US News.
Yeah, US News picks the people who they want to be on their expert panel.
And then Angie just commented her administrators value the US News comparison, even though they, the data manager, Angie and team, do not agree that it's good information. So I don't think you're alone in that, Angie. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Let's see, we've got a few more questions and we're getting close on time. Let's tackle Diane's question. Will these new primary procedure rules be incorporated into the mismatch report? Yes, Diane. So these, the new exceptions that were requested from the task force on the December task force call, yes, those Melanie on IQVIA does. They do have these rules and they will be implemented into the primary procedure mismatch report. And as Melanie had indicated, they are working on getting these implemented and we'll have more information on the date. Hopefully we'll have some more information on our monthly webinar in terms of dates and when these will be added. So, but yes, they will be incorporated into the primary procedure mismatch report. I know the 2022 harvest is set to close in March, but they will be implemented prior to the close. And Heidi was just stating the challenge presented to the data managers with US News and STS, and I understand. It's extremely frustrating. I feel your frustration. Vera, second part of her question, the new stat scores was whether this will be communicated to site surgeons. For those of us that report regularly on stat 3, 4s, and 5s, and then have previous year's data, have revised scores and a data integrity issue, I wonder if surgeons have expressed concern about this. So just any communication, the communications that come out from STS, those official communications, they go to the data managers, they go to anyone that, your backup data and file contacts, and they go to your surgeon representatives and the surgeons. So those official communications are shared with your surgeons. They are sent to the surgeon's email that are on file with STS. So yes, those are shared with surgeons. So, and the new stat scores, that it will state that the new stat scores will be applied to the spring 2022 harvest, and they will be applied to the analysis period, all 4 years of data. So that will be conveyed to them. Let's see, Heidi, might be a benefit to all of us if we had one as a whole collaboratively for our STS family. Would this be something STS could investigate? I nominate Dr. Meyer as our advocate. So again, Heidi, that's above me. That's something I could discuss with STS leadership, but as we've currently stated, we do not have a working relationship with the US News. That would be a discussion for Donna and STS leadership. All with good intent. I hear you. I hear you, Heidi. So Liz, yes, I agree. We don't have a full 4-year report. So some sites that didn't submit partial years and don't have a partial year report to submit to tables lose credit in the survey. Got it. They had many errors on the survey. So understand, Liz. Thank you for that comment. And Dawn, did I miss when to expect the next harvest report? No, ma'am. So the data is over to DCRI and for analysis. I do not have a date yet on when that will be back. So we have a call next week with we have a weekly call with DCRI, and I can try and get a time frame turnaround. So I don't have an exact date yet. So, but I can get more information. There are, as we stated, several changes that are being implemented in this 2021 harvest. So I know that that they are working on programming these changes and these new rules and things. So I hope to get a definitive timeline, an idea on when we can expect that that 2021 report back. And you're very welcome. Let's see here. I don't see any additional questions coming in. We're almost here at the end of the hour. Did anyone have anything they wanted to bring up or address before we hop off? Anything that I may have missed?
This is Jacobs. Can I just quickly ask the removal of VSD, because I got on the call a little late, the removal of VSD coarc and removal of VSD plus aortic arch hypoplasia, which I think is an excellent idea. Is that going to, that's clearly going to be done in time for the 2021 harvest, which the data will be released sometime in early 2022. Is that going to be applied retrospectively to the 2020 harvest, which is now available? Or is that only going to be applied moving forward to the next harvest? That's, I guess, the real question.
That is a good question. And my understanding was that it would be applied for the 2021.
So retrospective. That was our understanding.
Oh, Mel's back.
Yes.
Okay,
Melanie,
I'm back.
Yes.
I'm back. Yeah, sorry.
Yay, Melanie. Yes, I'm
Comcast.
sorry, Dr. Jacobs. Yes, I meant 2020. Yes, correct.
So it was.
So in other words, if we were to go on, once this change is made, if we go onto the IQVIA site and open up this table 21, it'll show the new version for the previous harvest.
When the change is made, correct. It would
Yeah.
be retro. Yes, that's correct.
When do we
Melanie-
think that change is going to be made?
Yeah.
I still am working with the team in regards to the timing around that. We have quite a few items, not just this one. It's quite a few things that are going in.
I get
to
it. Do you
that
think it's going to be
report.
like in a month or a week or 4 months? Just
Not
ballpark.
Definitely not a week.
Yeah.
Definitely not a week.
Mel, we have our webinar next week. Would it be feasible to have
I
maybe?
think we would have more information there just because, again, we have multiple areas that are touching this report, meaning that it's
Sure.
the requirements that I deal with getting from the STS and clarifying that. Also, we have our development team that has to make the change, and then we got our testers that have to test the changes. So different areas,
Yeah.
different groups that have to give their input to say we can hit it by this date.
Sure. No, I get it completely, and I'm certainly not trying to put any pressure on anybody. I'm just curious. That's all.
Melanie, can this change be prioritized over other stuff that's going on right now, since it seems important to the whole group?
Oh, absolutely. So, and a lot of these things have been kind of late breaking. We're getting information. We just want to make sure that it's final, that we're not having to do rework. So this piece of information was clarified and confirmed. So we already have it in front of the team. So it is a priority item.
Thank you.
So Amy had a question. How is U.S. News Report getting information about the harvest report changes?
I think they received that from multiple people from all over the country as these things happen.
Right, exactly.
People write letters. You know, they get letters from all the different surgeons across the country.
Yep.
Or their data managers.
Yep. Reach out to your U.S. News World Report representative. I just encourage, if you have questions about that report or changes, harvest report, you know that there's changes to the harvest report, reach out to your U.S. News and World Report representative, whomever that may be. But again, STS does not have a working relationship with U.S. News.
Yeah, I think they get letters from all of us. U.S. News does, and they process those.
Exactly. All right, I have about 1 minute after the hour, and I know others have other calls and meetings to get to. So thank you, Dr. Meyer, Dr. Jacobs, IQVIA team, STS team, core group team. I appreciate all of you so very much. Thank you for being on today's call. If you guys have any questions that may come up after this call, please feel free to reach out to me directly. Just shoot me an email at ljones@sts.org, and I'll work with you to get those answers for you. And with that, I hope you guys all have a nice rest of the week, and Happy New Year again to everyone. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. So thanks again, and we'll see you all next week on the monthly webinar. All right.
Thank you,
everyone.
Leanne.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a great week.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.